Good morning, everybody. See, we're starting to get back to normal because traffic on Country Club Road is officially top priority to avoid. For years, I would never go this way. And then I got spoiled during the last couple months. I'm all the way back by the college. This traffic is backed up to in front of the college. So if you live out this way, stay away from Country Club Road around this time in the morning. It's always crazy. But I wanted to get on here and share something with you. I've learned about sales and how people respond to sales processes. Now, let's talk specifically about real estate. Whether you're a real estate listing agent, buyer's agent, real estate investor, buying homes directly from sellers, whatever the case might be, specifically to real estate, or really any sales process, but I'll give you the example from a real estate perspective. When we go out to visit with a client, we have a sales process. That sales process, if done correctly, takes about an hour. And it might sound like a ton of time. You know, the first response from a lot of people, particularly salespeople, is they are anxious or eager to get through the process, and an hour sounds like an eternity. But the way that our sales process is put together, that 45 minutes to hour is really conversation that you're having with the customer, learning about their situation, what's motivated them to make a purchase, gathering information so that you can be an effective problem solver for them. And then, of course, there's a portion of time when you're walking through the property to make mental notes or physical notes about the condition of the property, the size of the property, some of the nuts and bolts of what it takes to make the sale. Then, around the hour time period, which is the first portion of our sales process, then we get into the actual presentation of numbers. We have conversations about things that come up, whether it be payoffs or equity. We get into what may be considered negotiations. And my point would be, at the end of that hour, because we pride ourselves on our process, and I won't get into the steps of our sales process right now, but really what it does is it builds rapport. And that's an ever elusive thing that people are always looking for, how to build rapport with a customer. I can tell you there's not a one line or two line closing tactic that you can use that builds rapport. It literally takes time. So if you commit to the process, you'll commit to the amount of time that takes. And after an hour of engaging in that process, one thing's going to happen that will specifically lead to a higher closing percentage and more sales. When you've come down to the point to where you're very close to making a deal with the client based on numbers. Oftentimes they may, have been considering or may even have other appointments with other real estate agents. They may have other appointments with other investors, whatever the case might be. Their initial plan may have been to get multiple estimates and then choose the one that's best for them. And a lot of times going into that best for most people just means the cheapest price or the best price or the highest price, depending whether they're buying and selling. What you've done by committing to your sales process and extending that process for an hour, hour and a half to 2 hours. Now, I'm not telling you just to sit there and spin wheels. I'm telling you, if you have a real sales process, which we have and we train on and we teach, that process, if you're working towards making a deal, it should take about 2 hours if you're going to make a deal. So when you get down to the finish line and you may be separated by a few $1,000s, or there's one or two small terms, that need to be ironed out, there's one thing that'll happen in your client's mind that will influence them to make a deal with you on the spot. You've now created the standard that this appointment takes 2 hours. You've built rapport, you're getting along with the client at this point in some capacity. They've learned to trust you after this hour to 2 hours. You've expressed your ability to solve problems. You're a good listener. You've created some type of, parallel where you've aligned themselves, whether it's a sports team, you eat at the same diner, whatever. That's a lot of the stuff that happens in those 2 hours. And they mentally think to themselves, we're only about $4,000 to, say $10,000 apart. What I don't want to do is have to go through this process, another 2-hour process with someone else. What if that person's, in most experiences, people don't anticipate having a positive experience with a salesperson. It's just the way that it is. So once you've engaged them in an effective sales process that is enjoyable, they are far less likely to want to invite other people into their home or go out and prospect and shop and spend another hour to 2 hours with another salesperson. They're just not going to want to do it. Most people do not enjoy the sales process. Now that you've made it a pleasurable experience, they don't want to run the risk of going through that process again and potentially having an hour to 2 hour unpleasant experience, because in their mind, most of their sales experiences for the most part have not been positive. So one thing that you can do is, you should have a sales process. And if you map out an effective sales process, I'm telling you, it's going to take you 45 minutes anyway. Once you get into negotiations and you work towards making a deal, you're going to extend a lot of your in-person client appointments to an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours. When you get to the point to where you're ready to make a close, the client will close themselves because they don't want to start over with another salesperson. So that's one way that you can increase your sales, is make sure that you have a process, make sure that process is adhered to by your salespeople. And then as they adhere to that sales process, it's going to extend that appointment beyond an hour and a half to 2 hours, and clients will be less likely to shop or continue to look for a better deal because they don't want to go through that 2-hour process, potentially with somebody that they won't like working with. So keep that in mind, extend your sales appointments, stick to your process, you'll close more deals. We'll see you.